Okay, so now that I told you a little bit about what it is that a coach does, I want to give you a little bit of information about the action and how you actually build your business. Like, what does that look like? When I first started coaching, as I shared before, I was working full-time in higher education. So I was leaving my house by 7:15 in the morning, and I was coming home at about 6 p.m. with my child with me. And I had 1 hour a day with him, and I would spend that time with him. You know, we would feed him dinner, bedtime, or bath, books, bedtime, 1 hour. And then I would push play. And my husband and I actually completed T25 together, that first program, because he was my first customer. I was like, let's do this together. And he did. And we had a lot of fun, and it was like a really great time for us to actually connect and like buy back that evening time, because we literally, we used to put our son to bed and just like literally sit on the sofa and watch TV. And this kind of really got us back into a great rhythm and routine where TV and like crap TV wasn't ruling our lives. Like, we were ruling our lives. But anyway, so since my time was limited, I had to fill my cracks in different ways. I loved, from the second I was plugged into a challenge group and I was welcomed in this community, I was a believer. I knew that there were a lot of other women that were like me, men too, but women, specifically my story spoke to a lot of women that felt the way that I did, like stuck in this hamster wheel, never really getting ahead. And I'm not just talking financially, I'm talking emotionally, like just too many tabs open, right? Like life is just like running you over. And I knew the first step was taking care of myself. And so I used social media as a tool to just share my journey. Like, I just documented my journey. My intention of sharing, while I hoped it would inspire people to join me because I wanted people to feel as good as I was feeling, my purpose of sharing on social media was really for me. Like, just document my journey. It was another level of accountability. And it wasn't so much like day one T25 check. It was kind of the emotions that I was going through. I got really real and raw and shared how I was actually feeling, because if I be honest, I had been using social media as very much of a highlight reel, only sharing the good and not sharing the struggles that I was actually facing. And when I started to be authentic and I started to open up and I started to share how that 1 hour a day wasn't enough and how I wasn't proud of how I was even spending that 1 hour a day, it really spoke to women and they wanted to join too. So I started sharing my journey. I started fueling my mind with positive things because, as I shared before, you guys, I was so bored in my job. And I know that's not the case for a lot of people, but for me, that's my story. That was me. I was unfulfilled in my day job, and it just sort of carried over into my life. I was not focusing on gratitude. I was constantly complaining and negative. I found the smallest of tasks to be frustrating and a waste of my time, even though there were things that were required of me. And I started fueling my mind with positive things. I started listening to podcasts on my drive to work rather than Top 40 radio. I started listening to audiobooks or reading books of personal development, and we will give you some titles to start working on there, because really, you guys, you can be healthy physically, but if you're not fit up here, it's going to be very difficult, not so much even just to build your business, but that is a really important piece, but to find true happiness and joy in life, because it's really easy when we're in the middle of a struggle to be really focused on that rather than what really matters in life, like those really important things that you should always be focused on. And so personal development is actually being somebody that hates reading and like swore I was allergic to reading my whole life. It's one of my favorite things that I do every single day. It's how I set the intentions for my day every day. And sometimes it's 5 minutes, sometimes it's 20 minutes, sometimes it's an hour. It just depends on what I'm working on. But it's every single day, at least 5 to 20 minutes. We've got some great podcasts. I really love podcasts. I do my gratitude journal every single morning. And you guys might be listening thinking like, this lady is like so like a quack, like what, all this gratitude stuff. But I'm telling you guys, it makes a big difference. And for somebody that felt so stuck, the shift was like that when I started to really appreciate what I had, right? Like, rather than focusing on the fact that I only had 1 hour a day with my son and I was angry about it, I focused on I had an hour a day with my son and it was going to be the best hour of my life because I had that. That was a gift, rather than, oh, I have to work out. It was, I get to work out. Like, I am privileged and lucky that I am physically able to be able to do this. And that all came from like the personal development. But you sort of just fill them into your day. I mean, there were times where I was doing things that weren't productive or weren't really adding value to my life. You know, rather than scrolling Facebook, I became intentional over there with sharing my journey, with connecting with old friends, and just seeing how they were doing, like just catching up with old friends. I started to use my commute home as a way, like I'd have a friend that would say, you know, hey, I'd like to hear more information. And I would say, well, can I call you at 5 on my drive? Again, rather than listening to Top 40 radio, I could spend 15, 20 minutes connecting with an old friend, listening to what their needs are, helping them get started on their journey. And that was just a better use of my time. So when I did get home, I wasn't on my phone, just filling those gaps where I could. And so really for me in the beginning, you know, my workout, my personal development, that was, you know, an hour of my day, not all at once, kind of broken up in stages. And then the activities to build my business were probably another hour of the day. But again, it wasn't like 2 straight hours of my day. I didn't have 2 straight hours of my day to give. It was like taking care of my oxygen mask on first, taking care of myself, and then the other pieces I was doing oftentimes in the evening when I would come home. And I communicated with my spouse, so he knew I'm going to be working on building my business because it's important to me. It's important to us as a family. And you know, there were 4 nights a week where I was working. My son would go to bed at 7, we would work out at 7:30, we'd eat dinner, and from like 9 to 10, I was plugged in and working on my business. So, you know, we were making it work. My husband didn't feel neglected because I was sticking to that schedule. I had that hour, and you know, you all have time. Everybody has time for this. It's a matter of, does this align with your vision for your life? For me, it meant taking care of myself every single day. It meant being true to myself and working on my mind. It meant sharing my story. It meant inspiring other women and helping them get started so they could feel better too. And all of that filled my cup. It never ever felt like, oh, I have to plug into my business tonight. And you won't feel that way either, because when you start helping people and you start giving them back time in their life, giving them back energy levels, making them more available to their family. They can chase their kids at the park. They're the mom, you know, playing the game, not sitting on the sidelines. They take the photos with their family, not just behind the scenes. It never feels like work because we give people purpose. We bring them back more connected to themselves and help them live life with intention every single day. It truly is the best gift. And that's how you'll do it too. We have trackers that you can use to help hold you accountable. We offer team calls for training. Every Monday there's a national wake-up call that the company provides. It's about 30 minutes and it's top training and tips from top coaches that have been where you've been before. They've been, you know, on the verge of signing up, and they've also been people that were new coaches, and they share how to get where they are, how to make this work towards whatever it is that your goals are. They'll teach you. You have to implement the tools. But I would do a lot of that. You know, again, that was my time in the car, that 30 minutes on the podcast, because you could listen to it. That they, you know, they're always recorded and saved. I rarely ever caught one live, and I still really don't. Mondays at 11 Eastern Standard Time is a hard time for me, but I listen to it sometime that week, right? Like I fit it into my power pockets. I fit it into my day. You have a whole team to support you. You're not going to do any of this alone. You will run challenge groups with your upline. You know, it's always a, you know, we do. Well, first you can kind of watch, and then we do, and then you get to do. And, you know, I don't ever kick people out of the nest before they're ready to go, but many people are ready to fly. Sometimes before I'm ready for them to fly, because I love the company of my coaches in my group. But anyway, guys, that's how you'll make it work. It's not something that needs to take 1,000,000 hours a day. My business activities look very different than what yours will look like now, but I'll share what mine looked like when I started. I've been here for 5 years. I have a large organization. This is my full-time yet part-time job, right? So I spend more time daily because I have different checklists that I'm following. Your checklist is going to always be you first, sharing with others, inviting for them to join, recognizing them when they do amazing things. And that's it, you guys. The formula is simple. We'll teach it to you. If I can do it, you can do it.